Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're so glad to have you with us this Sunday morning. If you're just joining us, we are talking about a story that's a saga that's unfortunately common in a number of homeowner associations. You have someone who's upset with the association. A lawsuit entails. What makes this even worse is the person who's upset with the board is a retired attorney. So his costs and his time, he's probably playing them just like a
It's not
a cat
costing
with
him
a
money
mouse.
to do this. That's right. He's just spending his time doing this, whereas the homeowners association has to defend itself and has to pay for an attorney.
And a couple issues here were about there was a sewer claim, but it was picked up by insurance.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't like the way that happened.
He didn't like that happen. And then secondly, he didn't like the fact that the board was also in the middle of changing how dues are assessed to every homeowner. And we've got to believe that the other homeowners in this association were aware of all of this too. And it was not like the writer of this story, I think, was giving coloring it, saying that the board was just doing this to almost just enrich themselves, just to pay less.
That's quite an accusation.
Yeah, it really is. Bottom line, Mr. Francis, the guy who was upset, the attorney, said his dues are going to have to go up from $1,700 to $2,100 a month. Well, $400 a month change, that's significant. Yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, both sides ended up at the county courthouse. The board wanted Francis to pay his dues and threatened to foreclose his unit. Francis argued that the entire dues change emerged improperly, and it was all because of a conflict of interest.
You know what? That's what this whole thing is about, isn't it? They're in court over a dues increase that Francis wouldn't pay, so the association's threatening to foreclose. That's the crux of this issue. Everything else around that they threw into this story is just kind of fluff and extraneous material. It doesn't have anything to do with the issue.
Oh, you're
the issue
so right.
is the board is raising dues. Did they do it correctly or not?
Yes.
Did they do it in accordance with their governing documents and Colorado state statute, or did they not?
Yeah.
Not, oh, you screwed up my insurance claim, or my insurance claim shouldn't have happened this way, or I don't like who's siding with who in these arguments.
Yeah.
Which,
well, of course, and it goes on once they get into court. One of the points that this retired attorney, Mr. Francis, points out is he said, even the property manager is involved in this too. He said that this property manager appeared to take sides with the board. About this whole situation.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, this is proof that there's an improper interference in the contractual relationship between a homeowner and the board.
Makes me tired. Do we understand? Does Mr. Francis understand the role of the property manager? Does he understand the role of the board of directors?
I don't think so. I think it is something that we face all the time in our industry. The fact that we are a property manager, we're managing for another entity. In this case, right. It's in a homeowners association, the entity is all of the members who have elected a board of directors who direct us and guide us, and we are bound to obey them.
That's right.
If you are doing it for an investment property, you still are bound to obey what the
owner of the
property wants.
That's right. That's
in
right.
either case, the property manager is never making things up on their own.
Nor are they. I mean, if they are using emotion to help them decide what to do next, that's not a very good management company.
No.
The property manager is there to advise the board, but if the property manager agrees that the insurance claim was handled appropriately, then that's what he's advised the board. And that's what he's going to stand up and support.
Yes, so for him for Mr. Francis to make this claim that the property manager was interfering with the relationship between a homeowner and the board. No,
I don't see that.
That is the job of the property manager, is to be the ears and the eyes and to be that front liaison person for the board, because board members have jobs.
That's right.
And so, yes, you're going to be interfacing with the manager. So anyway, here's Mr. Francis combines both things in court and the upshot of all of this is that it's costing the HOA about $30,000.
Yeah.
Now, the other $30,000 that would have cost in legal fees isn't costing Mr. Francis anything because he isn't a retired attorney, so he's got the ability and the time to do this,
to pursue this. Well, he probably paid some filing fees. Let's give him credit for that.
Oh, you're right.
He maybe paid Kinko's, $25 for copies. What else could he have paid for? Gas to get to the courthouse.
You're talking about a few $100s, but yes, it's a disproportionate amount. And when this happens, it's unfortunate. The person has the right to do that, but he at the end of the day doesn't realize what he's doing to his own association.
Right.
Because even if he were to prevail, the association is now going to have to pay that, and they're going to turn to all their members.
And all the members are going to have to pay higher assessments. That the author of the article,
which is what he didn't like to begin with.
That's right. And the author of the article did hit that issue in the very beginning when he said this is one of those situations where it went way beyond reason. Mm-hmm. When the lawsuit took on a life of its own, and neither side is willing to back down.
Yeah. So here you have, it says, also, I guess in this story, it's important to bring out, it says the two sides tried to settle, apparently, though the person who wrote the story said he didn't think entirely wholeheartedly. Apparently, Mr. Francis doesn't want the board's lawyer around when they talk settlement. So in other words, he doesn't want anybody else who knows and understands law
to be there. That doesn't seem right. He's his own attorney, so his attorney is there.
We're talking about the difference between what is referred to in relationships as the sheep wolf.
There you go. In real estate relationships,
yes,
especially.
Yes, and you can't have a wolf being prey to a sheep, and here you have Mr. Wolf saying, "I don't want the other wolf present."
I don't want the sheep to have any protection from me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, not entirely wholehearted. I would say that's not even halfway hearted at all for Francis. And then it says that the board intimated that Francis has blocked a settlement by failing to drop other legal claims for damages.
Yeah.
So, and on all of these legal claims are things that apparently are trumped up because what his only other claim was an insurance case that was going to be paid by the insurance company.
You know what?
So there weren't other costs.
Where do people skip this step of having a legal opinion on their governing documents? It seems to me that could have decided the issue right then as to whether these assessments were being charged properly or not. Let's get a legal opinion on the governing documents and how they say assessments are to be decided.
Yes, and
it's like that step was skipped, and Francis went straight to litigation.
And I think probably purposely so on Mr. Francis's part, because if he were to bring up the governing documents as the first issue to take a look at, if he was correct, he could hang his hat on that and nothing else, and this would change the discussion entirely.
So you think perhaps he knows the governing documents don't support his argument?
We don't know that, but of course the way that this sounds,
the way it smells,
okay. I think that what we have here is someone who is just definitely a guy who just has too much time on his hands.
Yeah.
And this is the prime example of someone who should not live in a homeowners association.
The very first time I served jury duty, it was a very similar situation. The plaintiff was an attorney who was arguing on his own behalf, and his car had been damaged in an accident. He got the full value of the car from his insurance company, and now he was going to court to sue the trucking company involved for even more money.
Yeah.
Even though he had accepted a settlement from his insurance company, he was an attorney who didn't have to pay anyone else to represent him. And that's exactly what the jury discussed when we went into whatever they call it, into closed session, was this would never have ended up in court if he had to hire an attorney to make this argument.
Oh, yes. And I think that is probably true for a number of court cases that I can think of in the past against the Homeowners Association. We had one, the most recent was maybe about 3-4 years ago, with one of our managers who had an unemployed attorney who was upset.
Yeah.
And all they were doing is just what amounted to just jacking the association around.
Yeah.
And it's just, and when you see that happen, it's just
frustrating.
It's
because
unfortunate.
It's costing money. It's costing big bucks
Yes,
to the
it is.
members of the association.
Yeah. So I think this is completely a different story than what the writer would have us believe here. But what do you think? Did we call this one right, or do you think that we may have been kind of blinded in our judgment here? We'd love to hear from you. The number, of course, to call to give us your opinions, your thoughts, is our hotline. That number, 952-224-2668, because we record on a Wednesday afternoon and play on Sunday mornings. You'll leave a message. We'll be happy to play or give you our comments and have your comments talked about on next week's show. Well, we need to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about what's happening in Florida here, where they've got state statutes and laws for everything and what they tell an association what they can and can't do. We want to know what you think about this. Of course, we'll tell you what we think, but after these messages.